Hi, this is another installment, and in this installment we're going to talk about my early years, and that would be my early years in Detroit. We had a bunch of neighborhood friends, and by neighborhood I mean just the kids that lived on our block.
Yeah.
Tex Merrill.
There were a lot of them.
There were a lot of them. Tex
Yeah.
Merrill, Wesley
Yeah.
Harris.
Tex Merrill, good friend of mine. Wes Harris, a good friend of mine.
Steve Barnett.
Yep. Steve Barnett, Ricky Evans.
Yeah, who became a good friend but was not at first. But we'll talk about that in a little while.
Well, what used to happen is Dave used to pick fights with Ricky. Ricky was my age.
Yeah.
And I'd have to step in and
Defend me.
Defend my brothers.
I will give him his own separate installment on that. So, but we played Army, we played Cowboys and Indians, although nobody was really ever the Indians, I don't think.
Right, yeah.
We played Little Men, and we played a card game called Canasta.
Yeah.
We had Canasta leagues on the block. We played it that much. Then a little later on, I met Tom Wilson, who lived a block over from me, and then I met Uris Johansson, who lived like 5 blocks away, and those guys remained my best friends for,
yeah.
I don't know, till I was like 30, you know. But also when we were living on Parkhurst, both Tom and I were in the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Now,
I was in Explorers actually for a year, I think.
Oh, that's right, you were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I think they started an Explorer post at when I was
Greenfield
14,
Park.
and I think, yeah, Greenfield Park, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the same group, Troop 178.
Yep.
For the
it was
Cub
Pac
Scouts,
1.
Boy Scouts, and
Yep.
Explorers.
Pac 178, Troop 178, and Post 178.
I think
yeah.
it was Post 178.
In Cub Scouts, we had monthly meetings where all the dens would get together, and we would use the school auditorium.
And our mother was a den mother.
And our mom was a den mother,
Yeah.
and every week we had a den meeting, and
Yeah. For 5 to 6 kids over to the house in the basement.
Yeah.
We had things Cub Scout project we worked on, and
I was working on a project one time where they were teaching you how to whittle with a Cub Scout knife.
Yeah.
And I was whittling away, and it was hard to whittle this way. So I figured, I'll try it this way.
oh boy.
And it was a lot easier. And so I'm whittling like this, and Mom looked at me and she said, "Don't do that, you're going to cut your finger." I was maybe, 8 or 9?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, mother, don't you know I'm a little more mature than that? I don't know if I said that. So I'm still doing it like this, and all of a sudden, I cut. You can still, you see that? That is still the scar. I almost took off a third of my nail.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course I started screaming bloody murder right away, and then
yeah.
of course Mom is right there, and we had to go to the doctor, and it got stitches and everything, and you know. And then I had, again, when I was younger, I read a lot of comic books. Well, we read a lot of comic books.
Yeah.
And in the back of this one comic book, they had Charles Atlas, this really buff, in-shape guy. And he was taking this spring, and he was pulling it like this. Well, this is how I developed all my muscles, you know.
Yeah,
So,
the one-page ad on the back of the comic page was always black and white photography. You
Yep.
know, the comics in color, and then of course on the back page for the ad, it's cheaper if you do it in black and white. And this guy's, and he's got good-sized muscles.
Oh, yeah, you
you
just-
look like, oh yeah, that's what I want to look like. Yeah.
I figured I'd look like that at maybe, 10 years of age. And so I sent away for this thing, and I got it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this, and, I'm doing pretty good, but I'm thinking, this is getting pretty hard. You know what? So I put it down on the end of my foot, and I'm lifting it up like this. And then all of a sudden it slips off the end of my foot and hits me in the eye.
Keep in mind, this is 4 springs on this thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is not, and it hits me in the eye, and and Tom was right by me, and I'm going, it hurts so much, and I got my hand over it, and I says, is it bleeding, and Tom looks at me and he says, if you take your hand away, I can see,
We can find out if it's bleeding.
So I took my hand away, and I saw one drop of blood hit the floor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm dying, And Tom says, well, yeah, I think you better go up and see Mom and Dad, So I went up there, and I had to get stitches in it, and oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And then another thing at 87.
I used to call the guy Charles at last.
And he was he looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger for at least back then. I mean, he was buff. And then I'm getting a little older, right when I was like 13 or 14 or something, and I'm in the kitchen, and we had that Crosby refrigerator, you know?
Yeah.
And I told Mom I wanted a snack, and she said, okay, just be sure and close the door after you. And of course I opened it, and I pulled it open, and I was just in a goofy mood, and I just said something like, really, Mom? Like I can't remember to close the door? And then I didn't close the door, and I had my eyes closed, and I just took a step or two, and I ran right into the refrigerator door with this tooth. And I knocked out half the tooth.
Arg.
So then we went up to see Uncle Don, and he said, well...
Our Uncle Don just happened to be a dentist, too, and he did all our dental work.
Yeah, and that was up in Portland, Michigan, so we got to go to a small town.
Yeah.
But... he told my dad, he said, the teeth aren't fully grown yet. He said, it really doesn't make sense to put a cap on them now because you're just going to have to change 2 or 3 caps. Yeah. So in my formative years of getting to know girls, I had to go around with half a tooth. Oh man, you talk about embarrassment, jeez. Anyway, then also in that time we had piano lessons.
Yeah.
How many years? I thought it was 4. 3. You said it was 3.
It was 3. Yeah.
Okay, it could be 3.
I thought it was a year with each teacher, and the last lady we had was good.
She was. Teacher. Mrs. Mapes.
Yeah, she was good. She suggested that that what you might want to try to do is pick a few chords, see if you can put a song together, like something you like on the radio or something like that.
Oh, did she? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
And,
I didn't remember that.
And I didn't do it, and I wish I had. I wish I had stuck with it a little more, And,
yeah, I wish I would have too. We didn't really get a lot of encouragement to stick with it, though.
Not from Dad, but Mom, I think, wanted us to go on because she knew that we'd use it. I think Mom wanted us to stick with it, but she wasn't going to force us because I don't want to say Dad didn't want us to do it, but if he did, he didn't say much.
No, I remember when we quit, his comment was like, well, there's 4 years of lessons wasted, and he was talking about the money. But then the neat thing is we also went to the Francis Wadsworth School of Dance. Yeah. And that was awesome because it taught both of us how to dance. And so in high school and in college, I was one of the only guys that knew how to dance.
Yeah, I hear you there, right?
And that came in pretty handy,
Yeah.
It impressed the girls.
Well, pop music, it was dig, step,
rock, step. Yeah. We still do that.
Step.
Yep.
Rock, step.
We still do it. Patty and I still do that when we go to a wedding or something. Yeah. Oh man, that was. But there was a girl I met. Now I forgot how old we were, but I was pretty young.
Yeah.
And of course they would pair you up with other people in the class. And this one girl was this really cute little blonde girl. Her name was Diane Munkeby, and she actually
definitely remember.
She talked to me.
Yeah.
She talked to me. I mean, at that age, girls and guys didn't talk, and I specifically didn't talk to girls. And here was this really cute girl talking to me like I was a nice guy, And I just remember that. And after we stopped going there, I often wonder what happened to her. Years later, I'm looking through my old Cass Tech yearbook.
Yeah,
she went to Cass Tech. She went to Cass Tech, and I never saw her. Graduated same year I did. Anyway, but that was good to do. another thing is for 2 summers, I did a lot of reading. I don't know if you remember that, but
yeah, I do.
And they were always these teenage books, like teenage science fiction books where the 17-year-old saves the universe, you know?
Yeah.
Or teenage detective books. And then, but it was just within that 2-year period.
Yeah.
After that, I never read anything till I got out of college. But then Tom and I watched a lot of TV in the 1950s and the early 60s.
Unfortunately, yeah.
But all the TV shows we watched were, well, they weren't historically accurate, so to speak. But they were, the hero was the hero. He always did the right thing, no matter what it cost. Wyatt Earp, who was definitely not like that in real life, but and then there was some of the science fiction, Rocky Jones.
Rocky Jones. How about the Lone Ranger? You remember
that? The Lone Ranger, yeah. Man, you know.
He was cool.
Oh, he was so cool. Oh.
And who played Tonto?
Jay Silverheels.
Yeah, Jay Silverheels.
Yeah.
And he was that. And he was he was Native American, and I remember him afterward, after the show was over, appearing on a couple of talk shows.
Well, he came to not the 6 Mile Theater, but the other theater on
Temple.
The Temple, yes. Yeah. He came to there, and
John R.
Yeah, and you and I were there.
Yeah.
And oh man, it was so cool to see him up close. It was packed.
Yeah.
It was packed.
Kids loved him.
Oh, they did.
Remember, he was the guy with the silver bullets. They'd shoot you and they'd wound you, but they wouldn't kill you.
Yeah.
Because they were silver.
Yeah. And we bought that.
In real life.
We bought into that. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, if you don't want to kill a guy, just use a silver bullet. You know, it's
instead of a lead bullet, like it's going to make that much difference.
Yeah. Oh, geez. But all those guys were upright, moral. Like I say, they always did the right thing. And looking back, and yes, it was unrealistic.
Yeah. Still, it was a lot more wholesome than the way things have gone today. But again, Hollywood's looking at it like we've got to keep up. It's almost like they say keep up with our audience, but the problem is, in too many cases, they're leading the audience.
They're leading. Yeah,
and that's the problem. When we start having a total moral collapse, society's in trouble.
And I remember even the regular TV show, like the situation comedies, like the Donna Reed show.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I mean, she was way older than I was, but I had a crush on her.
Oh yeah.
And Leave It to Beaver. The dad was always so understanding, and Beav always learned the lesson. And
then there was his brother Wally.
Yeah. Yes.
And their buddy, and I'm trying to remember.
Eddie Haskell. Oh yeah.
Eddie was the one who was always getting Beaver and Wally
into trouble. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
It's all right, Mrs. Cleaver. It'll work out all right.
Yeah.
They won't get into too much trouble.
And for the kind of at least in the show, he was kind of a schmuck.
Yeah, he was supposed to be.
But after that, he got out of acting, and you know what he did?
What?
He became a Los Angeles policeman.
Is that right?
Yeah. He retired after 30 years.
That's comical.
Yeah.
Eddie Haskell.
But I'm just kind of looking at my notes here to remember. With all these high morals that these TV shows had, I knew that I didn't have those. I knew that I wasn't at that moral level, but I strived to be. And I'm sure you did too.
Yeah.
A lot of kids did. They strived to be that, and I think it was really good. But again, I go back to, our eternal state's going to be heaven, and in heaven, the idealized is going to be reality.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to.
The thing to remember about heaven is, you got to remember, God gets the bad guys as well as the good. Somebody who's lived a rugged life, and maybe he's been in a couple of gangs, and the Lord pierces his heart and calls him out and saves him. Somebody who's been a drug addict for years now, they may not. They probably didn't start doing drugs planning on becoming a drug addict, but how many do, and yet God gets a hold of somebody like that, and even in the ministry, you can pray for somebody like that, and God will set them free.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, and like I say, in heaven, it's going to be what we dreamed of. I mean, it's going to be way better than that, but you know, that's something I can relate to anyway.
Yeah, so it's going to be, you know, you say something you relate to, yet it's almost impossible to picture. It's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And we're going to get there by God's mercy,
yeah.
not because we're good guys or good girls.
Right.
You know, we're going to get there by the mercy of God, and that's the only way anybody's getting there.
Right.
So
that was, in spite of the fact that we watched way too much TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it had.
Should have been doing our homework, right?
Yeah. I think I learned something from that about myself that helps me now.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's the right thing to do. It kind of did it help shape my character? Probably a little bit. You know, I probably a little bit on the negative side too, but on the positive side it did. So.
Yeah.
But that's about it for this session.
Amen.